What is up? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hope everybody's had a wonderful, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hope everybody's had a wonderful. We got another reaction coming back to you today. This one from Sunny V2, Juice WRLD's final 27 hours. This one was recommended to us, so let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and hop into this.
Okay, 9 minutes inside the Atlantic airport. They've got a guy seizuring in here.
This would be the call that unfortunately marked the end of Juice WRLD's life. Just hours prior, he was seen on Instagram joking around and having fun with his entourage in a private jet en route to Chicago. However, whilst on board, the relaxed environment would transform into a state of panic after Juice WRLD also learned that, according to the original leaked case incident report, members of the Gang Investigation Federal Task Force were waiting for them to land at the airport so they could conduct a cannabis/weapons investigation. How did law enforcement know that Juice WRLD would be carrying illegal contraband upon landing? Did it have something to do with his girlfriend's meth trafficking charge from 2 years prior, or the death of another Chicago rapper from only 6 days beforehand? Was his death a result of trying to avoid jail time upon landing, or simply an unexpected overdose at the most coincidental time possible? Some conspiracy theories posit that Juice WRLD isn't even dead at all, some of which being supported by a surprising amount of evidence. Regardless, one thing was for certain, as outlined in the original case incident report. At the time of his death, Juice WRLD aka Jared Higgins was a heavy Percocet user and quote had a drug problem. He tried lean for the first time in the 6th grade after listening to Future's 2011 mixtape Dirty Sprite 1, with Juice stating, "What do you expect if I'm a young dude that really loves music, really looks up to these artists? I didn't have a man giving me no type of guidance. My father wasn't in my life like that. So listening to this grown-ass man rap about lean, I'm like, well, that sounds really appealing."
You always had issues with drugs even before you started to get famous and rich?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was something that I was into early, low-key, due to music. The second song I've ever heard by Future, Dirty Sprite, like off the first Dirty Sprite mixtape, had me wanting to sip lean at like 11, 12 years old, bro.
2 to 3 years later, Juice found himself getting involved with harder substances.
I ran into some Percocets my freshman year, 14, 15 years old, 13, 14.
However, despite showing his knowledge about how bad these drugs were, Juice was unable to stop his addiction.
Your mind could be telling you hell no, but your body is dependent, so it's like it could tear you apart.
Battle.
His music often referenced needing to take these substances as a coping mechanism for what his girlfriend explained to be an anxious, overactive, fast-paced mind. Being so famous with access to such a large pool of money also seemed to influence Juice WRLD's drug problem.
Do you feel like you fell into that trap though, as you started to get money and stuff, you just started to do more and more drugs and kind of let it get bad?
I would say, I guess somewhat.
While in a different Instagram livestream, he'd state that money did almost nothing to fix the problems that had caused his drug addiction in the first place.
I deal with anxiety and depression just because you got money. Money is the answer to certain problems, but it is not the answer to those type of problems.
In the months leading up to his death, Juice's drug problem appeared to have gotten worse.
We calculated it up, and it was like over 20 pills a day he was doing.
20% a day?
Yeah.
Juice's recording engineer Max Lord would state in a GQ interview, "We were all starting to be on his case a lot more about the amount of pills he was taking. He was hiding and compartmentalizing how much he was doing with different people. He'd come into the studio room and act like he hasn't gotten high at all that day and do a certain amount in there before I tell him, bro, no, chill. Then he was going upstairs and hanging out with the guys and doing the same thing." Max Lord would then go on to state, "I and a couple other people had come to him in tears like, we're worried about you and we're scared we're going to lose you if you keep up these habits and we have to do something," which led to Juice WRLD agreeing to attend rehab, which was scheduled to begin on the 22nd of December 2019, 2 weeks after he would board the flight that would ultimately lead to his death. Jay was supposed to go to rehab that month. "We tried so hard to do positive things every day like ride dirt bikes or paintball to keep busy and not do pills, but every night once he hit the studio, that was it. He loved it." With all this in mind, it's hardly surprising to hear that when Juice WRLD and his 8-person entourage would pull up to the plane, they were carrying an otherworldly amount of illegal narcotics. The group had shown up to the chartered private jet over 3 hours late, according to FlightAway's plane tracker. However, during the Into the Abyss Juice WRLD HBO show, his cousin Sean Bailey would state that they were actually 6 hours late before going on to mention that the pilot was in a foul mood as a result of the delay. The advantage of chartering a private jet is that once everyone is inside the plane, you can take off instantly. There's no waiting around as is the case with a commercial flight. However, after the group boarded the plane located in Van Nuys, California, they sat around for approximately 15 minutes without leaving, stating that something felt off.
The pilot was acting weird, the stewardess lady was acting weird, and I just felt something off. I got up to like, yo, we should leave. You know what I mean? I got up and walked to the door and then like,
crazy.
To see if the cars were still there, and I'm like, because I was gonna be like, yo, let's just go off this plane right now. Like, something's not right.
The details are foggy, but this seems to have been the time during which the pilot of the flight notified law enforcement in Chicago about the contraband on board. This move has since proven to be incredibly controversial online, with rappers such as Boosie as well as Juice's girlfriend claiming that the pilot's snitching had resulted in Juice's eventual death.
I've lost two of the most important people in my life because of snitches.
However, others such as this lawyer on Twitter stated the pilot was trafficking drugs and guns involuntarily and wanted to go home to his family. This is in no way his fault, children. There are multiple Reddit posts arguing about whether or not the pilot is in the wrong, so it's probably best approached by drawing your own conclusion. However, all of this is still assuming that the pilot was the one who notified law enforcement in the first place. There's no confirmation of this in the official police report. Other theories posit that law enforcement planned on searching Juice's jet, as only 5 days
just chilling on the
prior,
plane,
the
waiting to
FBI
take
had arrived in
off.
Chicago to investigate
They tell me
the
everybody's
gang-related
lying,
murder
that means
of
we
another
take
rapper
off.
going by
I
the
don't
name
pay
of
attention
Shooter
to nothing
Shells.
else.
Shooter Shells had released a diss track just prior to his death, aimed at a rival gang distantly related to Juice WRLD's record label. So it is possible that the searching of Juice's jet had been a result of suspected gang activity, considering the official police report does mention that the search was for cannabis/weapons. Regardless of the motive behind the search, one thing was for sure. The agents weren't leaving Chicago airport until the plane had been searched in its entirety, which would be relayed to those on the plane as they flew toward Chicago.
Everything was normal and everything was fine. And once we started getting closer to Chicago and we started getting service on our phones, our security guard, Hen, texted the group chat and was basically like, cops are here and they have a dog.
This would be the point at which Juice WRLD took an unspecified but assumed high quantity of Percocet pills. The motive for this, according to the popular mainstream media narrative, was so Juice could avoid drug charges upon landing. And while this idea makes sense as a surface level theory, many prominent individuals believe it to be incorrect and fabricated to make the story more interesting when reported. For example, Chris Long, Juice's videographer, who had been a part of the entourage on the final plane ride, took to Twitter stating, "Jay did not swallow a bunch of pills because the police were at the airport. He gave no Fs about them being there. He could have flushed them down the toilet if he cared. Jay was just hooked bad. The amount he took daily was absurd, and he hid how much he took from mostly everyone. Everyone around him tried really hard to get him to slow down. When he agreed to rehab, it was because he wanted to lower his tolerance. He didn't want to stop."
Oh, Juice knew the cops were coming, so took a handful of pills. And like, that's not what happened. I'm like, Juice did drugs, yes. You know what I mean? But he didn't try to hide them, or he knew he wasn't going to get in trouble. He had people around him that are going to take care of.
Other individuals furthered this claim, such as Adam22 from the No Jumper podcast, who had been close with Juice WRLD in the lead up to his death.
I wonder to what extent
the
that story
entourage
is
is
maybe
for.
different. It seems kind of so silly to just take a bunch of pills when it's like, if you were really getting busted with a bunch of illegal stuff, a handful of perks is not going to make a dent in the case.
Perhaps Juice took a high dosage to alleviate his anxiety, knowing that he was probably going to be arrested after landing. Alternatively, maybe he knew he was headed to jail for the night as a result of the other stuff on board, and was taking an extra high dosage to avoid withdrawal later. Whatever the motive happened to be, the pills had been taken, and there was no going back.
In my mind, it's a lot more likely. Man's trying to avoid whatever possible. That way, I mean, unless for him to actually, he was probably anxious. He was like, the Costco search, oh, and then started stressing, and that's how he coped. Like, it's probably that simple.
Chicago at 1:30 a.m., the group would embark from the plane before taking a seat in the empty private jet terminal. According to the official case incident report, a police canine dog then entered lobby, began search, and immediately indicated a positive alert on a suitcase on the first cart. The dog then left and re-entered lobby for search of second cart. Canine immediately alerted on a suitcase on the second cart. Upon opening the first bag, ROs discovered a large amount of vacuum-sealed green leafy substance, suspected cannabis, and when they say large amount, they mean large amount. Juice WRLD and his entourage had packed a total of 70 pounds of cannabis into their suitcases in preparation for Juice's birthday, which had been scheduled for the night after he would die.
This weekend, we're going to Chicago to celebrate his birthday. It was just his birthday the other day, but we're going this weekend, Saturday. We're flying out there. We're gonna have a birthday party with his mom and family and friends and stuff like that from out there, so.
However, the sheer amount of substances held by the group has spawned a list of alternate theories about why they had been transporting such a high quantity in their luggage. One theory, which to be fair sounds a little far-fetched, is that the drugs were for Juice WRLD's girlfriend to sell after they had arrived in Chicago, the theory having come about after a user named Squirt Reynolds would tweet, "Ali Lottie, Juice WRLD's girlfriend before he passed, is a high-profile drug dealer and may have contributed to him passing away," a thread which contained a document showing that Ali had apparently been to court in 2017 for the importation possession of methamphetamine. Ali would respond to the tweet by stating, "Never seen methem ever, and I'm pretty sure methamphetamine is Adderalls. Ah ha ha, again. This paperwork has nothing to do with me. I'm sorry, ah ha ha ha. I don't even know the lawyer, ah ha. Bah ha ha, I don't even know, bro, ah ha ha. This has nothing to do with me. Look it up, look into it, ha 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 ha. I can't help ya, I ain't losing sleep over it, ah ha ha ha." The problem with this theory is that when you read the legal documents a little more carefully, it states the defendant is hereby committed to the custody of the United States Bureau of Prisons to be imprisoned for a term of 30 months. If Ali Lottie had been convicted to a 2.5-year sentence in August 2017, how was she posting photos of herself outside in late 2017 when she was supposed to be in prison? A 2.5-year prison sentence beginning in August 2017 would also imply that Ali Lottie's entire relationship with Juice Wrld took place while she was behind bars, which clearly wasn't the case. Under the assumption that this meth trafficking charge was for another Alicia Leon, therefore being bogus and irrelevant, let's go back to the day on which Juice Wrld would die. Whilst waiting in the empty private jet terminal as the police were uncovering the concealed drugs, during the search, Jared A. Higgins, aka Juice Wrld, began to have a medical emergency. It appeared that Higgins was suffering from a seizure. ROs asked of Higgins if he suffered from any medical issues and if he had ingested any drugs. Leon related that Higgins did not have any medical conditions and that Higgins takes Percocet and has a drug problem. As a result, police would administer 2 shots of Narcan to stop the overdose. However, the rest of the group would go on to state that it didn't seem like the police cared about the fact that Juice was having a seizure.
It seemed like all the cops there just didn't give a shit. Like they sat there very nonchalantly and like Ali's screaming to call 911.
Following the realization that Juice Wrld was overdosing, he'd be rushed to the Advocate Christ Medical Center before being pronounced dead at 3:14 a.m., with the autopsy ruling the cause and manner of death to be oxycodone and codeine toxicity/accident. And while this would tragically mark the end of Juice WRLD's life, it will begin a string of conspiracy theories which put forward the idea that Juice WRLD wasn't really dead.
I may sound crazy, but please listen up. I don't believe Juice WRLD's dead. Here's why.
Those who believe the conspiracy reference tweets such as this one from 2017, which read, "My goal is to get overly famous, shine for a couple years, then fake my death." In the song Legends, Juice would write, "What's the 27 club? We ain't making it past 21, which was certainly interesting considering Juice had died only 6 days after his 21st birthday. This was accompanied by him mentioning that he felt like John Lennon in the song All Girls Are the Same, which many consider to be further evidence for the conspiracy since they both died on the same day of the year, December 8th. In addition to this, an artist by the name of Clever, who had collaborated with Juice WRLD in the past, would release an album titled Crazy in early 2021, with the first letter of each song on the album spelling out the sentence Juice WRLD is alive. So if he wasn't dead, where had he gone? Well, the main theory is that Juice WRLD's currently living in the Bahamas. This theory began after he posted a photo in October 2019 on Instagram of a private jet with the numbers N999EH. By tracking the plane, it can be seen that instead of flying from LA to Chicago on the date of Juice's death, it instead flew to Nassau in the Bahamas. However, the problem with this conspiracy is that the N999EH jet was more than likely a rental jet owned by a charter company, meaning that it could have been anyone flying to the Bahamas on the day that Juice died. It's probably important not to give these conspiracy theories too much attention, as the ludicrousy of them could probably be seen as disrespectful to those who had to witness Juice's unfortunate passing, and the emotion shared by those in his inner circle is almost certain evidence for his tragic death at 3:14 a.m. on the 8th of December 2019.
Crazy to think about, crazy to see. Legend definitely was special. One of the best freestylers ever, if not the best. But yeah, I didn't want to believe it for a long time, but yeah, can't change it. Hope you guys enjoy it. I'll see you in the next one.